You know what? Sometimes looking at lower star reviews makes me realize what I want to see more out of books. Like, this one guy is leaving a review saying the characters appear to be caricatures with the bad guys truly bloodthirsty and disgusting, while the good guys were repeatedly stupid. Maybe it will progress in the next segment, but I've had enough. That's kind of the reason why, even though I'm taking some comic book tropes for Uplift Protocol, I don't want to, even if the bad guys are, very vice ridden and truly evil, I don't want them to come off as stupid, and also I don't want the same thing with the protagonists. Will each side make flubs or mistakes? Yes, but in general, both sides are fairly competent. Um, I've noticed that sometimes in certain books, I think I've talked about it before, like the idiot ball, but you don't want to rely too much on like passing the idiot ball from one side to the other. Um, Now, can you make things hokey and kind of contrived in some areas? Yeah, sure, because there's certain things that people expect with certain tropes and certain wheelhouses and expectations and all that. But usually that's why you have to find a balance between like having the good guys go forward versus the bad guys getting set back and vice versa. Like you have to have each of them have their kinds of wins and losses in a boxing match. So yeah, that's something I can understand. And then I know I'm probably not gonna pick up this book because another reviewer said when the bad guys are more interesting than the good guys, the book is not very good. Yeah. Oh man. And this other review saying, I personally don't like books where the bad guys have better character development than the good guys. But I also don't like the fact that they have better armor, weapons, equipment. In a lot of books in this genre, they are stamped out in cookie cutter novels, i.e., the good guys operate on a shoestring budget and always have to fight from the inferior position. How about something novel and fresh where the good guys as well as the bad guys start from the same position, both having great equipment and the struggle for supremacy from the start from that point? You may enjoy the series if you like this type of book. I will read the next book and make a final determination. Give it a shot if you wish. That's the thing. With Uplift Protocol, yes, the bad guys and the good guys each have their advantages and disadvantages. And the reason why the overall bigger picture war right now is a Cold War is because a lot of the good guys and bad guys have equal footing with a fair amount of stuff. Like, because humanity isn't just sitting there in a vacuum by itself. They had the freaking Typherians erect, a sector, kind of space sector wall around Terran space so they could safely expand into a few other systems and start setting up their networks without being harassed by pirates and all sorts of riffraff that the Typherians and others patrol the galaxy for. But I'm also showing some of the strain, like they need other allies. The last issue showcased that they need more allies to help combat the strain of basically keeping the universe together. And even if it also goes for the multiverse too. But that's how sometimes how you can grow a story. Um, and that's also personal preferences too. Like half the time with the underdog story, people will often make the good guys the most disadvantaged to be like, oh, see, the good guys will come around the end and punch out the big enemy. Because, Star Wars did do effectively something similar, but as you can tell with the Disney sequel, trying to copy paste the exact same kind of situation didn't really pan out as much. And even the EU at times, with the Vong War and everything else, the Vong War to me personally did not fit the spirit of Star Wars. It felt more like, when Deep Space Nine put the Dominion into stuff. It's yeah, it was Yuzon Vong just rubbed me the wrong way. It's like yeah, wasn't really having much fun with that one. That and the fact that I hated Jason Solo so much because he was a sad sack throughout most of the Yuzon Vong War, and then the brother I thought should have survived got killed. You know, it's like damn, the only proactive Solo kid is dead. They made him a little bit more bearable later, but he kind of became like a discount Kylo Ren. And Kylo Ren isn't, to me, that personally engaging anyway, even though he was probably had the most potential to be fleshed out in the sequel trilogy. Then again, that sequel trilogy is the example of you should have plotted out your whole trilogy, kind of like Mass Effect should have plotted out their whole trilogy beforehand. That's the way the cookie crumbles, and that's also how certain kinds of perspectives and wheelhouses come through to shape a counter narrative to whether are you pro, against, a mixture of everything, that sort of thing. So really, sometimes if you're trying to cater a little bit too much to the mainstream market, you might find that some people that are looking for a particular kind of niche are not getting it scratched very well with your book. That's why I find it important to read all sorts of reviews, like just try to see what did people really, really like about this thing and what did they really didn't like. You know, it does come in handy. It's the reason why, like, once I do finally launch my series, for sure, whether it's going to be Amazon or not, I'm not sure yet. Eventually, we'll get there. I will not be disappointed by 1 and 2 star reviews or 3 or whatever. It will help people key in on, do they want to see more of X, Y, or Z or less of it. So there you have it. It's just all comes down to what the reader really wants. And sometimes, I'll even use myself as an example, they really won't know what they want to key in on until they've just had enough stuff rub them the wrong way where it's like, this really isn't working for me, and why isn't it working for me? Have a good day, everybody. Okay, it's not that I hate snarky characters, it's I hate the fact that so many modern books nowadays, they're one-trick ponies. Like, that's the snarky one. His personality, snark, motivation, snark. You know, because again, a lot of modern writers make tics or quirks a personality trait rather than, you know, say like okay, Harrington has a quirk where if she's really, really pissed, she'll have a tick at the corner of her mouth. Well, they'll take that quirk and make that, oh, that's my character's personality. So yeah, that's what throws me for a loop sometimes with some of these more modern stuff. And usually when I'm talking modern, I'm mainly talking woke books. There's a whole lot of it out there to where it's just like when poor Ishii and Kat are doing those, you know, Adventures in Awful with books now, where they will make quirks and other mundane things a big part of their book's narrative, where it's like they'll have pages and pages of the characters talking about food. Like, that's not character development, that's just empty space. That's the reason why I have a few little jokes in there about, like, yeah, when my characters get dragged into a little restaurant, it's basically just to do a corny setup for, like, Star stopping some bad guys, or just to show, like, that little joke about how, you know, Superman could eat a ton of stuff and never gain weight. Well, Star has the same thing. Well, she can eat anything she wants and she won't gain 1 ounce of weight. You know, so that's partially why I do that. And that, and her aunt loves to poke fun by piling drinks upon drinks upon drinks upon her niece there and be like, oh, she does nothing affects her. Except for the special magical drink that Robin has. You know, because again, Eliza's more, you know, vulnerable to magic. But that also includes magical drinks. So she can actually legitimately get a bit drunk off of that. So there you go. When it comes to all kinds of tropes, I guess in a way, depending on who's doing what and what wheelhouse it hits, you're going to either hit a slam dunk or you're going to strike out. The biggest thing with books I've noticed, like as far as like catching readers, more often than not, maybe some of the more mainstream books that constantly get most of the attention, it's because some of those books hit just enough of the reader's wheelhouse to where they'll get in a bigger audience. And that's okay if that's what you want to do. If you ultimately want to write purely from an economic standpoint, then you're going to get into the whole whale reading concept and putting in a ton of output, like, because a few people that get 6 or 7 books out a month, that's ghost readers, definitely not ghost readers but ghost writers, definitely helping them to put out a lot of stuff per month. Most of the normal indies that I keep seeing pop up in my feed, if they get 2 to 3 books out a month, that usually means that they're pretty much co-writing stuff with other people. And then you'll have some that I follow, like the Empire of Bones guy, Terry Mixon. There's a handful of books that he's co-written with Glenn Stewart, I think. But I'm mostly interested in his Empire of Bones stuff. So he'll usually get a few books out per year, like 3 or 4, from based on what I can see the release dates. So that's a pretty good clip. Most indies, from the looks of it, at least get 2 books out a year, maybe 3, depending on what kind of thing they're doing or what kind of genre they're diving into or wheelhouse and everything else. So, yeah, there's that. So, when it comes to make your book, mostly cater to what you want to do. Now, if you're going along the woke path, you will attract a certain crowd and you'll also repel a certain crowd. There's no bones about that. But if that's what you want to do, I guess go for it if you want to, but just realize that a whole lot of if you're not the right kind of darling that woke pub wants, you will be maligned and shoved to the corner. That's about it. That's the reason why you see so many people jumping into a more independent bandwagon or basically teaming up to create indie publishing houses to get their stuff out there. So, yeah, take it from this reader. Every reader will have their own personal preferences and setups. It's just that depending on what your particularities are, you'll probably be more forgiving of certain things that go a little bit outside your wheelhouses versus others. That's just human fact, I suppose. So that's all you gotta really think about. It's like, you can have characters that are snark machines 24/7, like the MCU stuff. But for me personally, I'd rather have kind of like, the straight man character versus the snarky guy. But I also notice if there is something that has a lot of snarky people in it, I at least want them to have some virtues besides their quick wit or quick mouth. I want something to make them likable and not just, witty, basically. So I guess that's it for another little quick hits today of reader adventure and topics. Have a good night, everybody.